On today's episode of Locked On Canucks, the Canucks face the lowly Anaheim Ducks, but the Canucks are actually lower than them. Besides, they're honoring Kevin Bieksa tonight. It is Locked On Canucks, and it starts right now.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Locked On Canucks, the show that keeps you locked in on all things Vancouver Canucks. Of course, I'm your host, Justin Pooney. You can find me on Twitter at Justin Pooney. That's first name, last name, Justin Pooney with an underscore at the end. Yes, I know I have to change that. I just don't know how to change if you're watching on YouTube. So once I figure it out, I will change it. Also, you can find me on Instagram at Process Sports. That's PROCESSPORTS Sports with an underscore at the end. Also, I want you to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just type in Locked On Canucks on YouTube, and we are the first thing that pops up. Also, please like and please also, we are available on all streaming platforms. It took me a while to get that out. I don't know why. But yes, thank you for all your support. Thank you for making Locked On Canucks your first listen of the day. Of course, the Canucks are back in action following that disgusting performance on Tuesday night where they got destroyed by the New Jersey Devils, and I was completely wrong. And I thought the Canucks had turned the corner, but infamously, I was wrong again. This team came up flat, no energy. They don't seem to care. They think that they are a powerhouse juggernaut team that's done something before and they can flip the switch whenever. They are a lazy team. They have not proven to be an elite team, yet they somehow act like they're an elite team. And quite frankly, I'm going to get into this first block. It is pissing me off. But first, I want to go through the matchup with the Anaheim Ducks. Okay. Bo Horvat's played well. Bruce Boudreau finally hit 600 wins. Let's face it, though, both these teams are not very good. The Canucks, of course, have a lovely record of 2-6-2, while the Ducks have a record of 3-6-1. So something's got to give. Both these teams are in the cellar. The Ducks are actually a better team than the Vancouver Canucks right now. They have more wins. And quite frankly, you had told me that starting in November of 2022, after this offseason, that the Canucks would be tied with the Ducks for wins, and the Canucks would be 32nd in the NHL. I would have laughed my ass off at you. I would have thought that was hilarious. I would have thought that was nuts. I would have thought that was absolutely crazy. But so there's still a lot of time left. I know I'm trying to be optimistic and not be pessimistic, but it's really frustrating. It's very, very frustrating. But let's look at some good news. Kevin Bieksa is back. He was actually on the ice at Rogers Arena wearing a Vancouver Canucks practice jersey 4 years after he suited up in an NHL game, and 7 since he last played for the Canucks. And he looked good out there. And the saddest part was I watched those social media clips. I watched all that stuff online. And Bieksa could actually skate better than half the defense core the Canucks have right now, which is an absolute joke and an absolute disaster. Of course, Kevin Bieksa is retiring officially as a Canuck, and there's going to be an official ceremony. He signed the one-day contract with Vancouver, and it was special. As a guy who grew up in that era where Kevin Bieksa was one of the pillars of this organization, it was nice to see somebody actually with a spine come back and, bless all of us with his presence. Of course, next week in Toronto, or the week after, Henrik Daniel Sedin, Roberto Luongo will be inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Other guys that actually had a spine and came to work every day. He talked to all the guys in the dressing room and stuff like that. And he talked to the team and all that stuff. And the one thing that Kevin Bieksa said was that really stuck out with me. First of all, he considered himself always a Canuck. And, it was funny. He talked about how, like, when him and Kessler were in Anaheim, they always talk about Vancouver and the way they did it there. And the one thing he said, his greatest success in Vancouver, the thing that he cared about the most in Vancouver was not the President's trophies, was not the Stanley Cup final run. It was the culture they set in Vancouver for that team. Now, if we look back at that team and at that roster, those teams, right, had a spine. Those teams were together. You always hear about the stories now about the brotherhood of those guys, how much they got along, how guys like Henrik and Danielson set the tone off the ice with conditioning. Your two best players were the best conditioned players. Guys like Ryan Kessler, Alex Burrows, Kevin Bieksa were emotional leaders that grew up together and that stood up, and it was a brotherhood. Roberto Luongo was a part of that. This Canucks team right now does not have anything like that. This Canucks team right now has no spine, no passion, no desire, no nothing. They have zero culture. Now, you can say, well, they haven't won anything. They haven't set the culture right. There can't be any culture setting, right? That's absolute BS. These guys went on a playoff run in the bubble. That kind of was hot water to all of us. That kind of gave us hope. Sure as hell gave me hope that the Canucks were going to become something. It didn't happen. Those Canucks, the Bieksa Canucks, went through hard. They grew together in the minors. They grew together, losing and going through the Chicago battles and going through losing streaks and growing together. And they built something special, something this organization had never seen before and will never see again until these players take ownership, take control of this franchise, and become the guys that say, hey, this is just as much as our problem and our fault as the other management staff. You cannot blame any management anymore. The previous management staff is gone. The previous coach is gone. This is on the players. You can fire Bruce Boudreau. You can do whatever you want. At the end of the day, you can bitch and moan with the cap all you want. The problem is this. These players now don't act like they care. These players now don't play with the same intensity and emotion that those guys played for. Those guys that I watched every night growing up. Those guys have made this organization something that it never was before. Legit. A contender. When they went into every arena, teams were scared of them. They demanded respect from everybody in the NHL. Now you might say, oh, Boston and all this and all of it, they punched them in the face. It doesn't matter. The Vancouver Canucks under Kevin Bieksa, Ryan Kessler, Alex Burrows, Roberto Luongo, Henrik and Daniel Sedin demanded respect. They cared. They put that, it was on the front of the jersey was the most important thing. These Canucks right now don't care. You can see the way they play. They're lazy. They give the puck away. They're putting up piss poor showings in front of fans that pay a lot of money to watch them play. And you can get all up in arms about it and get all mad you want. The fact of the matter is this. This franchise is not going to go anywhere until those players, those guys in that locker room, sack up, decide, you know what? This is enough is enough. This is our season. We have to salvage it. This is our career. This franchise has been through enough. It is time we take charge. And it starts tonight against Anaheim. You are a way better team than the Anaheim Ducks. Quit playing down to your competition. I want to see a blowout win tonight. I want to see this team play with something they haven't had in a while. And something that we Kevin Bieksa's nickname, ironically, juice. Play with juice. Play with passion. Play with desire. Play like your ass is on the line and there is no tomorrow. Because quite frankly, the Vancouver Canucks are running out of chances. You have a few more home games before you go back out east. When you play some very good teams, Ottawa's no pushover. Toronto sure as hell is a talented team, even though they're playing bad. Montreal, you know when you go out east, you're going to be in some battles with those teams. I am sick and tired of this team shitting the bed. That game against New Jersey the other night, I watched that game, and the Canucks had a good first period, but after that, let in 2 goals. One was a stinker by Thatcher Demko, and after that, they folded like a cheap 10. The Canucks have too much talent on this roster to be folding like a cheap 10. I'm not looking at any systems anymore. I'm not looking at any manager anymore. I'm looking at the players right now because these guys need to turn their season around and play with some damn pride. Because I am sick and tired of seeing this team wet the bed every night. This team is too talented. I know there's injuries in the back. I get it. But this team has too much talent, has good players, and has no more excuses not to show up anymore. Play with some passion, play with some juice, and play tonight, and you better get a win tonight. Because if you don't, there's just another slide down, and this season is going to be even closer to being done before it even got started. I had to get that off my chest. Now, coming up after this break, I'm going to dive into another Canuck, thanks who just is not playing well right now. And I don't want to rant and rave anymore, but quite frankly, I have to. But first, I want to talk to you guys about betonline.net. BetOnline is your number one source for betting and your betting football and the start of the new basketball season. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, in-depth analysis on every game. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up to the minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest, easy way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet online where the game starts. So we're going to start right here. Again, Locked On Canucks, sorry. That was a long-winded soliloquy I went on about finding juice and stuff like that. And again, it's frustrating as a Canucks fan. And part of the reason it is frustrating is because, yes, I said we cannot blame the previous management, but this player here was brought in by the previous management. And quite frankly, this might end up being the worst deal, the worst decision he ever made, even worse than Louis Eriksson. You know, there's been a lot of questionable moves and a lot of just bad moves that Jim Benning made. Trades mostly and salary cap issues. A lot has gone wrong. Jim Rutherford had to go in and address this team. Kevin Bieksa addressed this team. I'm hoping something transpires, something changes, but who knows what happens. It's up to these players. You can have all the meetings you want, have everything you want, and all these talks and all of that, but it's about the action. It's what Marshall Lynch said. It's about that action, boss. That's all it comes down to. And this player right here has been horrible. Horrible this year. Oliver Ekman-Larsson has been absolutely awful. Awful. We knew when he was traded here that he wasn't going to be the guy that deserved that big deal he got in Arizona. He's not that guy anymore. Injuries, age, all that stuff. Last year, he played okay. Considering, whether all the situations, everything considered equal, he played okay. But in 10 games this season, Oliver Ekman-Larsson has been on the ice for 9 even strength goals. 9 even strength goals, and that's tied for the worst with Tanner Pearson, who's, again, another guy who just baffles me that he's still on this team. Tanner Pearson is not an NHL player anymore. I don't even know who would take his contract. He's OEL, looks horrible. He's got 8.61 expected goals against when he's on the ice, which is the worst on the Canucks. It's ranked 189th out of 207 defensemen to play at least 50 even strength minutes. I don't know what it is, but his lack of foot speed is there. His poor reads, he can't skate, and quite frankly, it looks bad. Analytics aside, when I watch these games and I look at OEL play, he just looks like he's too slow. He's 2 steps behind everybody. And in this game, in this NHL, where speed matters, where speed is one of probably the biggest skill that you need to have, and foot speed, he doesn't have it. He doesn't have it. And when I look at this roster, and I look at this team, how are you supposed to be successful when you have that? Now, they're tied to this guy for a very long time. He got caught napping, and he left Demko to dry on that 4-0 goal. It's just, there's too many stats are the stats, and I've said them. But the other thing is, he's just not good anymore. And the worst part is, he's still under contract for another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons after this year. 5 seasons after this year. And I don't know what the Canucks are going to do. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how you're going to resolve this, but you're stuck with Oliver Ekman-Larsson for the foreseeable future. And he's got to play better. Otherwise, you put his ass in the press box. I don't care if you're paying him that much money. Send a message, put his ass in the press box. It's no more resting on your laurels, no more doing this. Make hard decisions. You know what? Even if Bo Horvat's been scoring left and right? He's on pace for like 60 plus goals this year. He's probably not going to get 60 plus, but Even if you want to trade Bo Horvat, right? Trade him. But you better get something in return that's going to help this team. Because right now, he's the only guy, really, in my opinion, that's really doing something on a consistent basis, right? And people want him out of town. I think you should keep him. Well, he's proving to you right now that he's worth all the money you're going to give him. Because quite frankly, he's the only guy that I feel is actually showing some spine, right? So you want to trade your captain away. You want to trade him away for some assets. You don't want to pay him your money. That's fine. You better get something that replaces that. Because quite frankly, he's the only guy on this team right now and in this franchise on the ice that I see that actually is doing something of relevance. Now, Kuzmenko is fine. Podkolzin's struggling. I get it. Sophomore slump. Kuzmenko's going to go up and down. Pettersson's been up and down. Besser's injured again. Miller looks like shit. Demko has not been playing his best hockey. Quinn Hughes just came back from injury. The Brock Besser experience this season has gone horribly. And I would trade him if I could. I love Brock Besser as a person. I think he's a wonderful guy, but I would trade him. It's done. It's over. It's time to move on. Whatever you can do to get for Brock Besser, do it. He's never healthy. And when he's not healthy, he's not effective. Trade Brock Besser. Can't trade JT Miller. Can't trade Pettersson. Can't trade Hughes. Can't trade Demko. You're not going to trade Mikheyev. You're not going to trade Podkolzin. I'd keep Kuzmenko. I do anything to keep Kuzmenko because, he's proven he can play in the NHL, and I have faith in him. Connor Garland, nobody's going to want him. Tanner Pearson can't play in the NHL. Luke Shen is a solid defenseman that, sticks up for his teammates. I always respect that, but he's Luke Shen at the end of the day. Oliver Ekman-Larsson's been a dud. Tyler Myers has no foot speed anymore. Quinn Hughes is out there to draw all the time. You're playing guys that shouldn't even be in the NHL. Ethan Bear looked decent. He's getting acclimated to it, but this team, this franchise is absolutely pitiful right now. And you could tell by this episode, I'm pretty choked about it, but when I watched that game on Tuesday, I was like, after all this stuff I've been saying and bloviating, talking about and putting up here with the Canucks and how good they are, quite frankly, they're not that good. They're not that team. They act like they might think they're that team, but they're not that team. I look at a team like just down the I-5 in the NFL, the Seattle Seahawks. Everybody wrote them off this year, and through coaching, through a system, and through believing in themselves, look where they are now. They're first place in their division when nobody expected them to win 3 games this year. They've already won 5. The Vancouver Canucks are a talented team, but they don't play like a talented team. They don't play like a team. They play like a bunch of individuals who think they're better than they actually are. And quite frankly, that is exactly what the problem is. And until that changes, this team is going nowhere this year. And tonight, I said it in Columbus a couple weeks ago, your season starts again tonight. The 2-game wins was nice, but your season starts again tonight. You need to win this game and win it resoundingly. And if you don't, tomorrow is not going to be fun. And at that, I'm done ranting with the Canucks. I'm now going to go take a break. We're going to take one more break. And then after that, we're going to go through the best bets for tonight's game. But first, I want to thank you for making Locked On Canucks your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports available on YouTube, this app, and wherever you get your podcast services. All right, guys, welcome back. Locked On Canucks, final block of the show. So, Canucks, of course, playing host to the Anaheim Ducks. The Canucks are currently minus 178 on the money line. The over-under is set at 6.5. You know what? I'm going to go bet against the Canucks tonight. I'm going to bet against... No, I'm kidding. The Canucks should win this game. They have to win this game. They need to win this game. And they will win this game. They are simply just a better team, right? Spencer Martin's in net. I trust Spencer Martin. This team will be good. So I think the Canucks will win this game. I'm going to take the under in this game. I just feel that, the Canucks cannot get into a shootout with guys like Trevor Zegras and guys like that because they have some talent, right? So I'm going to go with the Canucks money line and the under at 6.5 in this game. Anytime goal scorers, I'm going to go with I think Troy Terry scores for the Anaheim Ducks. And I think it's time that Andrei Kuzmenko scores. I'm going to go with Andrei Kuzmenko. And I'm also going to go with JT Miller. We'll find the back from that, I think, on the power play. So there you have it. Canucks money line, take the under, take Troy Terry to score, JT Miller to score, and Andrei Kuzmenko to score. For those of you counting at home and carrying about that, I think the Canucks win this game 3-2, hopefully 3-1, around there. Maybe an empty net goal. It'll be a low-scoring game, and I think the Canucks will win this game. And if they don't, well, tomorrow there's going to be a rant and a rave from me that will be of epic proportions. Now, I want to thank you for making Locked On Canucks your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reaction, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast services. Guys, take care, stay safe, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.